On today's episode of The Dissection, we're going to be talking about the Ministry of Sports, Arts and Culture, which is led by the very, very colorful Gayton Mckenzie. So Minister Gayton Mckenzie hit the ground running after this appointment, literally.
Let's do it. It's your run today. I'm running my first race. The doctor said I shouldn't start with a marathon. So I'm running the Nelson Mandela Foundation race. It's 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 21 kilometers. It's at Wanderers Stadium on the 20th. Let's do it for Mandela. 20th of June. I'll be running the 5 kilometers race. Let's do it for Mandela. He's the father of the nation, father of the world. He spent 27 years in jail for us. Let's do it for him. Listen, come run with me. Let's run, South Africa. Let's run. I want to show you. I did my first 5Ks. Salute, Budi Baizani. Join me. 20th Nelson Mandela race. Wanderers Stadium. Salute.
He has approached this whole cabinet position with a sense of humor and a sense of self-awareness about his history, his background, and concerns that people have about him. Even at the swearing-in ceremony, he was able to get the room to laugh with him and laugh at him on the day. Just watch this clip.
Justice and purpose. I, Gayton Mckenzie, swear solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa.
Too fast.
Oh. I, Gayton Mckenzie, swear solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa. I will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge, like Mr. Mantashe, directly or indirectly. Sorry. Sorry. Not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability.
Thank you. So help me God.
Odimuntus.
Thank you. Take a seat.
The last time a judge asked me to sit, he made me sit for 10 years.
Same here. That was a long time. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you.
One of the issues, though, that has now come up this early in his leadership of the Ministry of Sports, Arts and Culture is the support of artists and as well the issue of superfans. There was an announcement that superfans would no longer be supported by the department. Last year, the department actually sponsored travel for superfans such as Mama Joy Chauke and Botham Sila's trip to the Rugby World Cup in France. And the amount of money that was spent on this was 1.3 million rands for their travels of these two individuals. There could have been more, but I think it was just two. And this brought a lot of attention to whether or not superfans should be supported at the time. When the conversation or the announcement was made about the cancellation of superfans, there was another conversation which was happening. And that conversation was the conversation around the support of artists. Because if you recall, Makhadzi, who won a BET award recently in America, had actually shared that she had to take out a loan from a loan shark to be able to attend those awards. And she had shared that information on the Makhadzi podcast. So if you're not familiar with Makhadzi, she's a very, very popular South African artist, makes African music, and it can be described, I think, as contemporary vendor gqom type music. It's not amapiano per se, but it's not really vendor gqom. So I'm not correct. How would we characterize Makhadzi's music? Could we call it vendor pop? I don't know. Anyway, in any event, Makhadzi was nominated for this award. She got money to go to this award, and it prompted this conversation about whether or not artists are being supported. Then the department issued a statement, and this is the statement that they issued because they wanted to demonstrate that actually we are supporting artists and we are a supportive department. This is what the statement, which was issued on Tuesday, said. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture has noted the public reaction that followed the recent instruction by the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Mr. Gayton Mckenzie, for the department to publish the names of creatives and athletes who have received money from the department. Subsequently, the department has received inquiries from the media about the lack of financial support provided to Makhadzi by the national government on her recent trip to the BET Awards in the United States. Makhadzi made the country proud by receiving a BET Award for Best New International Act. The department strongly rejects the assertion that it has not supported Makhadzi. Over the past 14 months, Makhadzi has been booked by the department to perform in several national engagements, receiving as much as 230,000 rands. The mandate of the department is to create local and global platforms and collaborations which empower the country's creative sector. The department commits to continue supporting creatives through various opportunities to take their talents to communities locally and internationally. The department therefore rejects the notion of creatives who have received support from the department inferring that they have not received support to pursue their talents. That's what they said, right? But Makhadzi responded. She responded on Wednesday. This is what her statement said. Makhadzi Entertainment. Makhadzi wishes to give clarity and correct misleading information provided by the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture in a statement released to the media and the public on Tuesday. She would like to categorically state clearly that she has never received or applied for any funding from the department in the last 14 months, as stated in the statement. We can confirm that the department contacted Makhadzi to perform for the June 16 event and the presidential inauguration, which she did. And then in brackets they say she rendered a service, and the department paid her. Okay, there's a typo here. This is not funding, but a payment for a service rendered. The statement from the department is creating a lot of confusion from heading to the last paragraph and seeks to give an impression. This figure of speech is it's a very African figure of speech. I'm just amused by the way Makhadzi or Makhadzi's people wrote this. From the heading to the last paragraph. It's misleading, this thing. Let me go back. The statement from the department is creating a lot of confusion from the heading to the last paragraph and seeks to give an impression that Makhadzi is one of the recipients and is now being published as stated by the Minister Gayton Mckenzie. Makhadzi is not a recipient and the department should release the list and stop diverting attention. In conclusion, Makhadzi would like to thank everyone who has supported her throughout her colorful career, including the Limpopo provincial government, local municipalities, private businesses, her fans, etc. It has been a long and bumpy road, and the ultimate goal is being realized, and no misleading information or smear campaign, such as the one from the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, aiming at destroying and dampening the spirit of Team Makhadzi will find expression. She remains committed to entertaining her fans and representing the country globally, and looking forward to being welcomed tomorrow by the Limpopo Premier, Dr. Poppy Ramathuba, after her BET triumph in America last week. Issued by the Makhadzi communications team. So yeah, that's what Makhadzi said, responding to the first and last paragraph of the Ministry of Sports. But she really did seem hurt by everything that was happening and the insinuations that she had somehow improperly benefited from government proximity or connections. And she actually responded to this on live. And this is what she said.
Which is not a problem. But now, they must not cover other people's names using my name. No, they must not do that. And whoever's calling me, that I've been receiving calls here. Big people calling me saying, you must stop, you must keep quiet, don't reply, don't do that. I can't. I must do what? I must stop not talking. I must not reply to protect people manipulating the whole public, using my name, lying, saying, and I got money. I can't do that. If they have power to block me, they must block me. It's okay. They must block me. It's okay. Whoever has power to block me, it's okay. I will upload my music on YouTube. My people, no one can block them to stream my music on YouTube or on any platform. They will stream it. If it's all about connection on TV, if someone have to, they must block me. It's okay. I'm fine with that. My people will get music on YouTube. Simple. They will get my music on Spotify. It's okay. I can't keep quiet because people are calling me to stop, to not keep quiet and not reply. Here, I betray them. I told them that I will keep quiet, but I slept. I'm like, I can't sleep. I can't allow to trend the whole South Africa, whereas the world, the whole country is waiting for the people to be revealed who was eating money. And people that are failing to reveal names, they start with me. And I've ever even ate any cent because of, they feel like I'm quiet. I can't speak for myself. They're taking advantage. No one can speak for me. No one can fight for me. And then they have to use me as an example. No, I can't allow that.
Not only did Makhadzi respond, but other organizations responded as well. So the economic freedom fighters got into it, and they made a statement on the victimization of Makhadzi by the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. This is what it said. The EFF freedom fighters, no, this is not the EFF freedom fighters, what am I doing? The economic freedom fighters condemns the recent actions taken by the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture under the leadership of Minister Gayton Mckenzie, which have unjustly victimized the talented and hardworking artist Makhadzi. The situation arose from a promise made by the minister in his eagerness to appease public sentiment to seize what he termed the wasting of money on official supporters. When the department faced backlash over this promise, questions were raised about their lack of support for Makhadzi's trip to the United States of America to receive her BET award for the Best New International Act, where she represented South Africa with distinction. Instead of addressing their stance on official supporters, the department chose to deflect by disclosing the amounts of money they paid to Makhadzi for her performances and appearances. This attempt to portray these payments as a form of support is both disingenuous and reprehensible. Let us be clear. The payments made to Makhadzi were for professional service rendered, not gratuitous support. To insinuate otherwise is to undermine her achievements and hard work. The department should focus on addressing numerous instances of mismanagement and corruption within their purview, particularly by top politicians, rather than targeting a successful black woman who has brought pride to our nation. It is common knowledge that this department has consistently failed to support artists adequately. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it was the EFF who stepped in to provide the necessary aid to struggling artists when the department fell short. The department has even named the moniker Department of Condolences due to its tendency to offer platitudes rather than tangible support. We call on the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture to redirect their efforts towards eradicating the wasteful expenditure and corruption that plague their operations and begin to implement programs that actually support artists. Additionally, Minister Mckenzie must stand by his commitments without scapegoating artists like Makhadzi, who embody the excellence of our nation's creative sector. The EFF stands in full support of Makhadzi and all artists who tirelessly work to elevate South African arts and culture on the global stage. We demand that the department retract their misleading statements and issue a formal apology to Makhadzi for their baseless and damaging insinuations. It is time for the department to genuinely support our artists and uphold the dignity of their contributions to our national heritage. That was the EFF statement. But the ANC Youth League also jumped in, not to be missed. Not to be missed. The Youth League was like, hang on, we also got a statement that we want to release and get out there. The question about the ANC Youth League statement is that, you guys are in a coalition, grand coalition with this Party Patriotic Alliance. So is this how you're going to be talking to each other? But in any case, the ANC Youth League is not the official spokesperson of the ANC. So there's some room for the ANC to say, no, that was just the young people speaking. But here's what the ANC Youth League said. ANC Youth League condemnation of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture's unethical actions under Minister Gayton Mckenzie's leadership. The African National Congress Youth League condemns the recent disgraceful actions and statements made by the Department of Sports under the questionable leadership of Minister Gayton Mckenzie. It is absolutely unacceptable for a department that should be the stronghold of support for our nation's creatives, artists, and dedicated superfans to instead engage in actions that lower and undermine those it is supposed to uplift. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture's primary role is to create a nurturing environment for our creatives and artists, offering them the support they need to excel. This includes recognizing and celebrating superfans like Mama Joy Chauke, who passionately support our national teams. Mama Joy Chauke was notably honored as the fan of the tournament during the final Springboks versus New Zealand match in Paris Saint-Denis, where she had the opportunity to address the world as a proud South African superfan, proclaiming, "My country, my pride." Creatives and artists play a crucial role in nation building, economic growth, and development. They contribute to the cultural richness of our society and are vital to our national identity. Support should be provided by the department to all deserving creatives, artists, and superfans, ensuring they are uplifted and celebrated rather than shamed and embarrassed. We stand firmly with Makhadzi and all artists who have been impacted by these actions. The case of Makhadzi, an award-winning artist who has publicly shared her experiences of insufficient support from the government, despite receiving over 230,000 in performance fees from the department, highlights the glaring incompetence and disconnect within the department. The recently released statement by the department is a testament to this incompetence and fails to address the real issues at hand. The unprofessional ethics and intentional lack of consideration for artist dignity introduced by Gayton Mckenzie, who is deployed by the Patriotic Alliance to the national government, are not only unwelcome, but outright contemptible. The Parliamentary Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture must hold the department accountable for these actions. We demand the department fulfill its duties while upholding the principles of Batho Pele, ensuring fair and respectful treatment of all stakeholders. Gayton Mckenzie should prioritize understanding the department and fostering positive relationships with creatives, artists, and superfans, rather than attacking them. The situation underscores that it is only the African National Congress that can effectively lead the government. The ANC has a proven track record of championing the rights and interests of all South Africans, including artists and creatives, ensuring they receive the support and respect they deserve. The Parliamentary Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture must hold the department accountable for these actions. We demand that the department fulfill its duties while upholding the principles of Batho Pele, ensuring fair and respectful treatment to all stakeholders. The ANC Youth League will not sit back and watch the department abuse creatives, artists, and superfans. We will fiercely oppose any form of exploitation or mistreatment of those who enrich our cultural and sporting heritage. In conclusion, the African Youth League the ANC Youth League reaffirms its unwavering commitment to advocating for the rights and dignity of all South African artists and creatives. We will continue to fight relentlessly for a cultural and sporting environment where every artist receives the support and recognition they deserve, free from unnecessary public scrutiny and financial exploitation. That's what the ANC Youth League says. So I don't know if everyone will agree that the African National Congress has sufficiently supported sports and supported arts and culture. There's been a lot of criticism of them over the years in that they didn't actually support, sports development in the townships, the rural areas, that they haven't been supporting artists, that kind of a thing. But the list was then released. The list was released. What list, you may be asking? The list of the artists who received funding from the department, right? And that funding was an amount of 72 million, which was paid to 3,962 artists during the pandemic in that 2020 to 2021 period. And it was to provide them with support for loss of income as a result of the lockdown. There were mixed reactions to this list, right? Sizwe Dlomo says, if we're being serious, jokes aside, this is no way to treat people that were encouraged to come forward for assistance during a pandemic. Someone responded, Poppy for you, saying, this culture of keeping things private is why politicians continue to misuse and steal funds. Public funds are meant to be known by the public on who's benefiting. That was the response to Sizwe Dlomo. Someone else jumped in, Waras, right, at Shady Leka, said the following, nah, man, which list is this? This was the legit people who applied for assistance during COVID, bro. This is not cool, bro. I thought the list of names being revealed is for people who got funding for projects that either did or did not happen. And those figures should be audited because a lot of people got millions for nonsense, allegedly. And some of us know monies were applied for and rejected. And maybe this wasn't fair. P.S. Not me personally, but people I know deserved and didn't get. And rumor has it, it was diverted to people who were not deserving by a long shot. And then Zimasa Matiwane says the following. I'm reluctant to say whether 10K or 20K of COVID-19 relief funds is too small because Abantu were getting 350 Rand. Yeah, artist lifestyles require more, as we've seen with the Rand 230,000 for 2 gigs. They're accustomed to more than a street vendor. We also had salary cuts. We were all suffering. So there's mixed reactions to the amount of money that these artists got and also to the names of the artists who were on the list. Some of the interesting names were on this list. Arthur Mufokate was on the list. His son was also on the list, right? And people were like, well, Arthur is always showing up whenever there's government money being allocated. MacG and the MacG podcast received some money as well, a large amount of money. Ketiwe, you know her from Generations Ketiwe, right? La Chocolate. Banwile Njaba, she received some money as well. Mohale, he received some money. And he's like an affluent industry entertainer, businessman. He's opened a club, etc. He got some money. He got some money as well. The Kifness, the guy who makes songs with the cat, he received some money. And he was criticized quite viciously on social media because he's often criticizing government, talking about how he gives props to artists who succeeded without any support. And then he took some support. Also, the other question around him is he seems to be from a very affluent background, living in an affluent area in Cape Town. And if he is indeed from an affluent background and is wealthy already, why did he need the money? Did he not take money from people who were deserving of that money, but because of their status were not able to maybe get that money? Some people who deserved were rejected, as was said. So if you are rich and there's money being made available to people who are struggling, even if you can meet the criteria, should you take that money? What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the statement from ANC Youth League that they've been supporting things? What do you think about the statement from Makhadzi? You know, one of the things that I think is important to just be aware of is that there are levels to this thing. There's levels, Buffett. What do I mean by this? I mean, 230,000 sounds like a lot of money if you are an individual. If you're an individual, if you give me give me that thing now. Give me that. Give it to me. I'll take it. But Makhadzi has got a band. She's got dancers. She's got a lot of people. And if she's paying all of those people for the gig, her take home from that may be very small. And if you're thinking about going to international events such as the BET Awards, the cost for flights for one person can be over 30,000 rands. Then there's visa application costs. There's a lot of other things that are involved in just going to the United States of America. Accommodation is going to be very expensive. If you're moving with one or two people, it could also add to those costs, because if it's 30,000 rand for one person to fly return, if there's three of you flying, that's already 90,000 rands. That's a lot of money, right? And if you don't have good cash flow at the time when those awards are happening, you may need some support from government. Maybe gigs are not happening that much. It's winter, it's cold. Maybe you don't have a hot album at that particular moment, so you're not going to be necessarily be able to go. So that's why I'm saying that there's levels. The costs for someone who is an international artist to run that particular business are different from somebody who is maybe on what is it, SoundCloud, or just doing an individual act. And that's just what I think. Now, one of the things that I think did come out, which I think was valuable from the release of the list of people who got funding in 2020, is that we got to see some very funny companies that I think need to be investigated further. There was a company here that got a lot of money, Strategic Human Solutions, and it seems to be a construction company, right? They got 20,000, 20,000, 19,995, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 20,000, 10,000, 15,900, 15,433, 10,000, 18,700, 10,000, 10,000, 11,400, 18,600. They are literally between recipient 3,299 to recipient 3,316, one company. And then they put different people's names on that list to, what's going on there? What's going on there? I think that was valuable, right? So if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It helps people find the algorithm. Here are my thoughts on everything that has happened in the ministry so far. I think that the grants were legitimate for the artists that did apply. I don't think that the fact that artists are showing up on this list means that they're corrupt or that they have some funny relationship with the government. I don't think so. I think this was funding that was made available to them. They applied, they qualified, they couldn't perform. They make an income from performing. And if you can't perform, your income is going to be adversely affected. So I think we shouldn't create any insinuation or innuendo that these people are somehow corrupt. Number one. Number two, I understand what Caesar Lomo was speaking about when he said, look, why are we letting people know? You know, there's an issue about dignity. There's an issue about how do we give money in African tradition. Even in the Christian religion, you know, it's like, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. You know, gifting and grants should be done in a certain way in certain communities. But this is government money. And I think that transparency is key for the allocation of government funds. When you are dealing with public funds, I think there needs to be accountability from the disperser of those funds and also transparency in terms of who got those funds. And then people can evaluate whether or not that was fair, legitimate, or not legitimate. I think that's part of democracy and that's part of public funds. So in as much as I appreciate that if this was being done by private individuals, sure, don't share with the public what kind of help you did. But if it's government funding, I think it should be publicly known. There does, as I say, seem to be funny business around some of the recipients, and we wouldn't have known or even gotten a line of sight to that if it wasn't for the transparency that has shown up here, right? Interestingly enough, we see that many Afrikaner artists also applied for the fund. Lots of white people applied for this fund. You know, these are some of the most vocal critics of government. So it was just interesting to observe that many of them also applied for the fund. In fact, it looks as if this fund benefited more white artists than it did black artists. Food for thought, huh? Now, Gayton seems to be very passionate about his job, but it does look as if some of the decisions that were made here were made in a messy fashion. And even though there was an attempt to be transparent, to show people that, listen, I'm keen to cut the rot, maybe to learn from what Dean McPherson had done, I think that it wasn't done necessarily in the best way in this instance. Some things that I think are important to consider going forward. I think the minister should call a meeting with all the professional performing artists, maybe even amateur artists, and have conversations with them in public, one per province. Have conversations with the artists directly. Cut out the middlemen. Hear from them. I think it's important to also think about ways to fund the most expensive elements of the creative process: access to equipment, cameras, microphones, recording software. These things are very expensive. Many people are creative but cannot afford to buy studio time or buy equipment. So if there are ways to allow people in the creative industry to access these things, maybe hubs where people can go and access this equipment, I think that will contribute tremendously to the production and the volume of output. We've seen a lot of creativity in South Africa, and some of it is not being expressed because some of the people who want to create do not have the resources to create at the quality that they need. These things are expensive. The equipment is expensive. Laptops are expensive. So I think there's got to be ways to think about how to create that kind of access for people in general. I think also there has to be thought about programs to teach artists some of the elements of the business of the creative industry, some law courses, some proposal drafting, lessons, templates, etc., so that some of the artists can better protect themselves from bad business deals, from being taken advantage of. I also think artists going to award ceremonies should be funded. I think there's value to that. It helps them network with international artists to find collaborative opportunities and to fly the flag of their genre and the country high. I think there's value to that. I think it also can bring tourist opportunities, because if Makhadzi is there, she can invite other American artists to come to South Africa. They come and they visit, they see what's here, they start making more content with Amapiano artists, other artists as well. It's not just like Amapiano is the only genre in South Africa. So that kind of stuff can help. So I think there has to be some kind of a fund that is set up for those kind of events, right? And I think it's important. I also think that there's value to superfans. I do understand the criticism of only 2 people maybe benefiting from being superfans. So maybe there should be more superfans. There should be a way to expand how these particular individuals are chosen. But I think there's value to having people want to go to South Africa to experience this vibrant atmosphere. Without superfans, where are they going to see this? Also, I think that there has to be consideration around how to give more people opportunities to go to international competitions. It cannot be that international competitions, whether it's rugby or whatever the case may be, are only attended by rich white South Africans because they have got the historical money and the income opportunities in South Africa to go to these matches. There's a history to South Africa, and that history has been one of dispossession, oppression, colonization, apartheid, you name it. And that has led to different groups having more access to opportunities, resources than others. But I do think that there's value to that stronger together aesthetic, that stronger together narrative. So why not create a lottery where people can, enter that lottery to win opportunities to go to these international competitions? Maybe reach out to corporates to fund parts of that if there's no budget, even to reach out to corporates to fund that superfan program, so that different people can go and experience this, even if they're from townships or rural areas. Why not? Why not have rural South Africans who smallholder farmers go watch rugby as well, or go to the Olympics and watch? Why not? Why not? Right? A fan cannot only be a rich white guy. Why not a black guy? Why not a poor black guy or poor black woman? So I think it's important to give those opportunities. Why not? Help those people get visas. Help them if they've never gotten a passport to go, to travel, to carry the flag high. And people will love this program. They'll love it. Open up spaces for people to go. So I think there's value to being a super fan and having super fans. But perhaps the balance is then that you create a lottery system where people go online, they enter and they get to go. And maybe you can't go 2 times in a row or whatever the case may be, right? But I do think there's also value to having these super fans, these brands, these people who can really do the fan thing, Why not? Obviously, budget is tight, but I think there are other areas where budget has been chowed, which must also be looked into. And I think Waras had a point there when you were saying, let's look into other programs which have been funded and whether or not value for money came from those. But what do you guys think about the minister? Do you think that he's off to a good start? Do you think that this was all just a little bit of commotion, but generally the momentum is in the right direction? Let's have a conversation. I'm keen to hear what you think in the comments. Till the next one.